Hello, welcome to the final episode of Low Code Café. This is for 2024. This is the episode number 177 for December 18, 2024, where we're going to explore the calendar view of the listing module. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App. We have Patrick Anderson, Technical Success Manager for Plantain App, and together we're going to tag team and show you this new feature. Low Code Cafe is an event we do bi-weekly on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Central Time. And this is just an opportunity for us to get together and tell you what's going on with Plantain App and do some demonstrations. And we dedicate the biggest part of what we're doing to hands-on coding, and that will be the case today. You're going to come away with a good understanding of exactly how to implement or at least get started in implementing a calendar into your projects. When you do a project, we would love to host you as a guest speaker. So reach out and talk to us if you have something to show off to our community. We record all of these and put them on YouTube. You can get to them at youtube.com/plantainapp. Today's agenda, we are just going to be doing two things. One is talking about from the trenches of support, the things that are going on the support channel, because that's my role. And then we'll spend the most of the hour on our hands-on low coding project. As I mentioned, the Low Code Cafe is presented bi-weekly, every other week, and so the next live webinar is for January 8th. We're skipping a week for the Christmas holidays, so do join us on January 8th. We'll have another good low code topic. Um, from the trenches of support, we always talk about hotfixes. We are currently, the current released version of Plantain App is version 1.26. And really all of the previous versions are beyond their support period. So we highly encourage you to upgrade to version 1.26, and 1.26 is a very good and stable release. We will be getting into version 1.27. Our beta for that is slated for January 2025. So soon to start beta. Let's look at the hot fixes. I have an application that we use week by week that is just we install the hot fixes as part of this episode, so we can see that there are hot fixes to be installed, and I'll just talk about them a little bit. If you go as an administrator, if you go to updates and open the hotfixes tab, you get to them. There's a few, and these may or may not relate to you, but if they do, you can install them. With APIs, there's been a long-standing bug where if you used the download file response action, that the file type was coming in as a bin file. It was being considered a bin file, and in some implementations that could get things stored incorrectly. Now this API correctly identifies the correct type of file that's being downloaded, so whether it's a JPEG or a PDF or whatever, and so it now works as you would have expected it to work. If you were having problems with it, that'd be a good one to install. With our app builder module, there's two different things that were there. One is we're improving the way that we support virtual directories. So this is a particular way of installing DNN. And so if you're using virtual directories, your administrator will probably know this. But there is, in that case, there are some things that don't display correctly, although your applications will continue to work. So if you're having that issue, you probably know it already, but that release would fix that. And then we've now, when you're doing an execute workflow action, which is the execute workflow lets you choose a workflow to run basically dynamically at the time of at runtime. You can pick which workflow to run. You execute it by specifying its unique identifier. And so now this uh, when you do that, this corrects a small bug where the expression, if you specified that ID by expressions, it was throwing an error, and if you left it blank, it was throwing an odd error. Now it's going to be more specific. So again, these are pretty specific things that you may or may not be encountering. Um, and then in our token builder, this is a nice one where we've improved some help text. So for the date and time tokens, so we try to make the help text relevant to you as you're going along. And while we're here, I'll just mention that I became aware of a project this week that will let us be more nimble in making changes to help texts. So there's cases where the inline help is needs improvement. Maybe things have changed since it was written years ago. We're improving the way that we can do that so that it's not just a developer task to be able to change that content, and that'll let us make changes to that more quickly and easily. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see help texts improve, over these next versions. In any case, I'm going to select all of these and install them on my system. And so we just select and install all. And I'm going to put this aside. We're not going to hang around and watch it install, but at least we'll have it done for when we get together the next time. So aside from installing hotfixes and talking that 127 is coming, I'll just remind you that we do an event most Fridays. This next Friday, 2 days from now, we will be doing the Low Code Campfire, and that happens at this same hour, 10 a.m. Central Time. I encourage you to be there for that. It's more of a conversational format. This one is a special one. It's our end of year episode, and so our founder and CEO, Bogdan Latescu, will be talking a little bit about some things we have planned for 2025, and beyond that, we'll just be enjoying each other a little bit for a little holiday camaraderie before we close out the year. The week following Friday, there will not be one, so we'll be putting out an announcement, but what day, Patrick, maybe you can look on the calendar, what day we'll be resuming Low Code Campfire.
Looks like the 3rd.
Excellent, January 3rd. So, and then beyond that, we have some links for this episode. Patrick's put them on the webinar chat, so you're welcome to get and take a look at that. But you can register for Low Code Campfire. You can get to our YouTube channel, the community portal, which is a great place to get questions answered, not just by us, but by the community. Often they have insights that we don't. You have insights that we don't. And then there's a link to our feedback forum if there's anything that you'd like to give us feedback on this webinar or what you'd like to see in future ones. That feedback form is a great place to do that. So with that, we get to our hands-on low coding portion, and so we'll spend the next 50 minutes talking about the new upgraded calendar view of the listing module. So what does that mean? Well, here's where we're going over the next hour. I'm going to, in a moment, show you visually where we're going so that you'll see exactly what you're going to get by investing this hour with us. But then in part one, I will be just talking generally about how to put together the data behind a calendar and enabling the calendar view, and just talking about the core calendar features. There's some, the next topic is there's some features where you can interact with the calendar by JavaScript to add new appointments or display or edit appointments. There's some neat features there. So Patrick will talk about that, and that kind of covers the core low code implementation. But then there's some advanced topics, and Patrick will start with a advanced JavaScript topics, and as time permits, I'll provide a little bit of wit, wisdom, and caution having to do with time zones and time changes and things like that that will impact you if you're doing an international style application. So with that, let's dive in a little bit. I have a calendar already set up. We're talking, the idea is that we have an appointments calendar. It's showing up in month view, uh, and just and so what you'll see is the ability to create things uh, on a calendar. We have a month and a week and a day view. And so let's say that we wanted to put the Low Code Cafe, excuse me, the Low Code Campfire event on our calendar. When you're done with all this, you'll be able to click and drag to pick a date and a time. So this is picking this Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time through 11:30. And so we'll type your episode and add it to the calendar, and it appears on the calendar. So that's one thing that you can do. And then the other thing that you'll be able to do is, for example, add something that is an all day appointment, like this is, and so those all day things show up in the all day segment. And when you're looking in week view, if we're looking in, for example, month view, they just show up on the calendar with a time range. And on day view, if let's see, we're looking in at the 21st. So all day things show up in this all day segment. So that's kind of where we're going, the ability to um, click and create and view appointments. Will you also have the ability to you'll have, for example, the ability to click on an appointment and to see the details behind it. That's generally where we're going. Hopefully that'll be of use to you. And so we'll get started with that. This that we're doing here, this is our preparation site, and I'm going to move this aside. And what I have instead here is our actual presentation site for today. So this is a plant and app application that is empty. We've done nothing except just populated and put a couple of users in. So, and let's see, I guess I'm logged out. We'll get logged in again here. So in my first step, I'm going to go through these. Well, let's just go on to the next slide. What I'm going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we have to have an entity, a database that's going to keep track of our appointments. In many cases, when we do this, we just go to our configuration page and go to entities and create a new entity. And we, in many of our low code cafes, we just type it, do it one by one. To save a little time, I am going to use our import entity feature. I already have this done in my preparation site, so I'm going to copy and paste. I exported from that site and I'm going to import it to this site. So this is going to set up our entity for us, and so I'll just explain it rather than typing it. When you do the entity for the first time, it starts off in that blank screen, but now you can see we have some core entities that always come with the product, the document, image, role, and user. Those are already there. Every Plantain app has those. What I just imported was an appointment. I'm going to edit that and show you what it looks like. So this is the singular is appointment, and appointments is the plural. We're not going to give it a parent page. This isn't, so it's just going to appear at the top of our menu. And aside from the standard system properties, we have every item will have a title, a description, which is a large text, a date, and we've chosen this as a local date and time. This is when the appointment starts, when it ends, again, local date and time, whether, and then a Boolean flag, a yes, no, that says, is this a full day? And that controls whether or not it shows up in that all day spot. So this is just a very core, simple appointment. Obviously, you might have much more involved, but we just want to get to the heart of what is necessary to do a calendar. We've chosen title as the display name, which is the one that's automatically hyperlinked to drill down into the details. And then we're not concerning ourselves, I'll show it to you, but we're not concerning ourselves with the permission security. So we're just accepting all the default security for this exercise. So I'm going to save here, and Plant an App generates some, if we look at the preview of the site, Plant an App generates the appointments as a listing, and the ability, we already have the ability to add appointments, and but by default this is creating what's called a data table view. And so if I add and want to schedule that I'm going to Christmas Eve service, and so I'm picking out a date, and the time is going to be 5 p.m. and that goes to 6 p.m. And so um, this is an appointment that I want to put on my calendar. So I could do it with we can do this in a listing view. We can now see that we've got a listing that's Christmas Eve and when it starts and when it ends, and the is full day. So we are at the point we've added this database entry that's going to support what we want to do, but now it's time to turn on the calendar view. And so let's see how to do it. Basically, we're going to turn it on and set some special fields so that the calendar knows how to uh, behave. So we're looking at our preview. We're going to put the calendar into edit mode. You can either, I'm using the middle button mouse click, which opens this thing in a new tab, but we could have opened it right here. In any case, we have the appointments listing. We can see the data fields that are present. The thing that we are concerned about to turning on calendar view is to go to views. So these are all the different ways that you can view your data. And so for example, we have data table automatically happens that when we create an entity, it builds it as a data table view. What we're going to do is turn on calendar view. So this gives us two different ways to view the same information, and we have these special fields. So whichever field has the information that you want to display on the calendar, in our case it's title, you want to select that. You get to choose whether you want it to start out as a month or a week or a day view. And so, for example, I'm going to pick that I want to start it out as a week view. But that's really based on your choices, your need. And now we specify, well, what field has the date that we want to use to display based on calendar. So we want to display the start as based on starting at, and we have this other field ending at. So those are the two things in that entity we just had. And then our is full day field is the thing that represents whether or not it's a full day. Patrick is going to go more into it in his part, but allow selection enables whether or not you can click on the listing, and so we'll let him do that part. But just this much here is going to give us a calendar. So I'm going to save that and go back to my view. When I refresh, now that I have two views going, um, notice that we have these two boxes here. This represents the calendar view. This represents the data table view. So we can choose whether we wanted that traditional view or the calendar view. As with other all of the other views, I just want to point out, there is the ability to drag these around. Whichever one is the highest is the one that's going to happen when you open the page. So if I drag the data table view onto the top and we just go to the appointments tab, it's going to start in data table view, and we can choose to go to calendar view. Just uh, in for our purposes today, we're focusing on calendar, and so we can just do it that put calendar to be first and save. And so now it's going to start out in calendar view when we go to that page in the first place. I'll also point out you can turn off the data table view, and that way there's only calendar view. So you have a lot of control, and then there's other views, other ways to view the same data, and I'll just turn on cards just to illustrate that. So now we're seeing we have calendar view. We can look at it in a list. We can look at them as cards, and but again, today we're focusing on calendar. Now I did have something. Let's look at some of our tools here. The today button will take you to whatever day today is, so that's a good way to find today. And then this is going to the next or previous. So if we were doing, we're in week view, this will take us into next week. And if we look, we can see that under Tuesday the 24th, we have our Christmas Eve service scheduled at 5 p.m. So the calendar is working. We You can also switch to day view either by using this. Let's talk a little bit about navigation. We've got a month view, shows the whole month. The current day is highlighted in yellow. Um, we can see the um, the day of the week, the the and you can click in, for example, on December 24th, this will take you into a day view. So there's all these different views, month, week, and day, and how to navigate around within that. But we've accomplished our first objective. We have enabled the calendar view, we've turned it on, and set these special fields. So by the way, I didn't encourage it, but if you have questions along the way, you're welcome to use the Q&A or the webinar chat, and Patrick will interrupt me and we'll deal with that. Okay, so we've started down talking about the calendar view core features. There's this ability to uh, there's the view selector in this in the top, selecting which view you want to see. There's this navigation block over here that'll help you get around and navigate your calendar. I got to get rid of this so I don't display it. Okay. And then we've already been looking a little bit about navigation drill down. If you're looking in a month view and you want to display a particular day, you can click into it. If you're looking in the week view and you want to look at that particular day, you can navigate there and it'll take you into that. So that's navigation drill down. Within each item, there is automatically built in a detail view. So let's see what that looks like. If I click on an item out in the colored area, it's going to show me all the detail fields for that. And so there's only one, there really aren't any fields that are showing for that. Let's see how to turn those on. We go to the data tab. Anything that we turn on here as being part of the detail view will show in that detail view. So we can turn on description, and we'll turn it on for everything just so you can see what it will look like. But basically, whatever you want to display as a result of clicking on the item will show up in the detail view. So I'm going to go to month view. We'll find our thing here. We click in the colored area and it pops out. It shows you the description, and starting at all the fields that we indicated we wanted to be part of the detail view are now showing. So that's an easy way to be able to do for you to be able to allow drill down into your data. You just make sure that the column is included and check the detail view. You it, you click the item and it appears here. And then by default, whichever field that you specify is the display name property. And again, let's go back and take a look at that. So in our entity, in our appointment entity, we've said that there is a title, and title is the display name property. Well, by default, when you say that, anytime the title appears, and here it is, it's set up as the one that when you click into it, it goes to the detail level. And so I've clicked into it, and it takes us away to the detail page pointing to that particular item. So if you build more functionality onto this page, uh, that's one way to navigate to it, and it comes in by default. If you don't like that behavior, and let's go back to where we came from, looking at things by month. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to change our default view to being month, because that's what Patrick and I kind of agreed on when we were setting this up. I wanted to illustrate that you can change that default, but now we go to appointments and it comes up starting in the month view anyway. This behavior of being able to click this might be annoying to you, and you want being able to click this and going to the detail, you might want to do something else. And I just wanted to point out that in your data on the title, the reason that that's happening is because we automatically have set this up to format it as a link going to the detail page. If we turn off this formatting, it will no longer do that. So now when we go to the appointments page and we click right in on this title, it no longer goes to the detail page. It's just doing the detail flyout that we have previously developed. The custom detail view, I believe, is what, or yeah, it's the detail view. Okay, so we've gotten through the core calendar features and what happens with, how the calendar works, what clicking the item does. And now I just wanted to make one final point before we move on, and that is you're seeing this, or we're seeing this based on my time zone. My time zone is determined. Uh, Zoom is doing something new for me, and it's giving me this annotate thing, which is keeping me from getting to uh, here we go, my time. Here we go. So I just wanted to point out that in your operating system, you have a current date and time, and you have a time zone selected. Now, depending on your operating system, it might be in a different place, but you have a time zone selected. If I change and said that I am no longer in Central Time, but I wanted to see this in Eastern Time, my time has now changed by an hour, but also when I refresh the calendar is going to move by an hour. So this is part of our multi-time zone international kind of features. Depending on where you're looking, what your time zone is, when you look at this calendar, it's going to show you relative to the time zone you're interested in. And so uh, the same, you're going to see the same item that I show as at 5 o'clock uh, is for Patrick. When he shows his screen, it's going to show at 6 o'clock. All right, I'm going to put my time zone back to where it really belongs, because I'm in Central Time, US and Canada. And so now this is going to put it back in the 5 o'clock time block. Okay, so that's the introduction. I'm going to quickly cover some known bugs and limitations. Our calendar is a new feature in the product. It's been experimental for a while, but now it's a non-experimental, a full feature, but it has limitations. Currently, we're seeing a bug with searching and filtering, so you can search and filter on the listing view, but it doesn't work right on the calendar view. So that's something we're going to fix. Beyond that, what you're seeing, this color green is the primary color of our page. It's controlled by CSS, but there isn't any built-in support to have different kinds of items come in with different colors. So that would be a neat feature to add, but it's not there yet. When you're looking at a week view and a day view, it's always 24 hours. So you see from midnight to 11 p.m. There's no ability to just filter this down, for example, to your work hours. So that's a known limitation. And then finally, it's English based. There's not a capability to change the days to uh, French abbreviations, for example. That's again a kind of a known limitation and something that all these things are likely things that we'll address in the future, but in its current state, this is where we are. With that, I am going to ask Patrick to take over, and he will do part two.
Excellent. I will do that. Let me share my screen. All right. So, Bill, just confirm for me that I shared my screen correctly.
Got it.
Okay. Um, so I'm going to be talking about enabling some of the JavaScript options in the new calendar view. First, we're going to take a look at enabling selection on the calendar, and then we'll take a look at some alternatives for item display. So we'll start by enabling the selection, and we'll talk about the objects that we have available to us. So let me switch over to the site here. And so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to open the appointments listing in another tab here. And go to the view, as you saw Dale do just a few minutes ago. And I'm going to click on Allow Selection. And that, of course, gives you this extra box here, which you can enter JS. So what I want to do first is I'm just going to do a console.log so we can look at the values that it provides us. And you notice here that we have a start object. And so I'm going to put that in here. And then we have an end object. Oops. I'm going to do end, and actually just put a little space in here. So there we go. That will give us just a little bit of separation there so we can see these when I do the console log. So we copy that, and then I'm also going to put in the is full day property so we can take a look at how that comes through. That's just a Boolean. So the start and end are date time objects, and is full day is a Boolean. So I'll put that, oops, didn't get that today. There we go. Right, so we're going to start out with just that. I'm going to save it like that. And now go back to the calendar, and I need to refresh here. All right, so we have our calendar view. I'm going to choose a 2 day of 2 days. I'm going to do Tuesday and Wednesday. So I'm going to just drag across there, and you can see that those have been selected. Now I'm going to go into the inspector and go to the console, and we drag this over so you can see it. And you can see that it logged Tuesday, December 3rd at midnight GMT. And and recorded my time zone, and then through Thursday, December 5th. So note that it's Thursday, December 5th at midnight. So I chose the 3rd and the 4th. So it's taking me all the way through the end of Wednesday, which is the very beginning of Thursday. So I just want to make that clear that even though it says Thursday, it's taking me through the end of Wednesday is what it's really doing here. And then the is full day property came through as true because I'm on the calendar view. So now I just want to switch over to the week view, and I'm going to just do something from 12 p.m. to, let's say, 3 p.m. and go back here. And now I can see that I have December 17th at 12 p.m. through December 17th at 1500 hours. And now you notice that is full day is false because I'm selecting from a calendar view. So I just want to set that context for you so that you know, so that it makes more sense about where we're going to head next. So going back to the listing, now I'm going to, I want to go back over here real quick, and I'm going to open up the appointment form in another tab here. And go to the event form, and I'm going to set this up so that when I make a selection, that I'm going to be able to create a new event based on that. So going to the events tab, I'm going to so this is the appointment form, and what I'm going to do is edit these default values that are available when you create a form, so that I can pass in the values that we're getting from the selection on the calendar, so that when you create a new item, it will automatically have what you selected. So I'm going to use the start date property starting at, but I'm going to pass it as a start date. So we'll just I'll show you here what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pass into the form a parameter called start date, and I'm going to set that as a default to date time ISO. So if I just click new, I'm going to get the current time as my start and end dates. So
Yeah, so this is a generic form that's going to serve multiple purposes. Clicking the new
Yep.
button is going to behave one way. If you click and interact with the calendar, it's going to come up pre-populated.
Right. Yep. So these are the parameters that I need to pass in: the start date, end date, and is full day property. So I'm passing in these parameters, and I'm going to pass them in from the JavaScript objects that we have. Okay, save that like that. Now, going back here to the inspector, I want to point out something real quick that I didn't point out before. Notice that the start object is passing it in this format right here. This is unfortunately not going to work for me when if I were to pass this value to the calendar, to the form to create the event, it wouldn't work. I have to have an ISO value. So then what I'm going to do is go back to the listing, and just to show you here, I'm going to do this, make sure I'm getting this correct. I think it's, yep, I'm going to change this to ISO string.
And as always, JavaScript is case sensitive, so we got to
Yep,
get those right.
exactly. Save that like that. Go back here and just test this to see if I got what I wanted. So now look at my inspector, and nope, doesn't look like I did it. Oh, I know why. Nope, I didn't do the right syntax. When you call a function, you have to make sure you give it an open and close parenthesis. There we go. Save that like that. Now, I guess I should probably do a refresh also. And let's switch to a week view. Okay, so now I'm getting an ISO value that I can pass in. So let's go back to the appointments listing. And I'm going to make sure I get so I'm checking my ID here because I'm going to use our standard function for calling forms. So I'm going to use the dnnsf.api action form pop-up by ID function. So for those of you who are not aware, we have some standard functions that are included when you install things, and we can easily get you a link so that you can find all these functions, what they are, and use them. But so the form is 428, so that's the first value you need to pass in, and then you can also pass in a string of parameters to pass to the form. I'm going to copy that and paste it so you don't have to sit here and watch me type. But so now I'm passing in an array of values that are going to go through as query string parameters to the form when it initializes. And remember, I wanted start date. That was the get, one of the gets that I was looking for. End date was another get I was looking for, and is full day was another get. And I'm passing the JavaScript objects that I have available. And of course, the start and end, I'm converting to an ISO string to pass it to the form so it works well with the form. And then finally, I need to tell the form whether or not I want it to refresh. And I do want it to refresh, so I'm going to set that value as true. And then we will end that with a semicolon, and we should be all set there. So let's see if that works. Save that. And so now go back to the listing, refresh it, and I'm just going to click one day here, and you can see that it's created a full day. So all my properties are passing through correctly. I'm getting the full day property, and it's starting at on 12/11 at 12 a.m. and going through the end of the 11th. So I'm going to do just go ahead and add it here. Add, and there it is. And getting our default detail view. All right, so then let's switch to a week view, and I'll create something here. And notice that his full day is not set, and it got the values from what I dragged to select on the calendar, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and we'll click add. And now we have that event there. So that's an easy way to get it to be interactive. So notice also that if I were to go from 8 a.m. on Tuesday and then go all the way to say, let's go to 5 p.m. the next day, that it's capturing that. So I went to 8:30 to 5:30. And that's going through as a multi-day event. So not a multi-day event, but an hourly event that spans days. So add that. And now you can see that that's on the calendar as well. Okay, so that's the drag to select. So the next thing I want to take a look at is that if I click here, we have this standard detail view that we have access to that Dale explained earlier. What I want to do is customize this a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the appointments listing and just making sure I covered everything I wanted to here. Yep. Okay, so now I have the on item click JS down here. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to do a console.log again, just as I did earlier to show what happens. Notice that it says in this context you have access to item. So item is another JavaScript object, but I want to show what it actually gets you. It gets you all the details on the event. So I'm just going to log that for now, save that, go back to the view and refresh it.
So that thing fires every time you click an item.
Yes, that's correct. So just a moment ago, when I clicked an item, you noticed that I got the detail view over here. As soon as you put JavaScript into that on item selection box here, you no longer get that default behavior. So notice I clicked that and I didn't get the item view, the detail view over here, but I do now have in my console, because I did a console.log, you can see that I have the, let me just drag this up so it's a little easier to see. You can see that I have a full object of all the values for the item. And specifically what I want to point out to you is that I can get the ID just by doing item.id. So the whole object is called item. If I wanted to get the ID of the item, I just do item.id. But I also have access to all the values in there. So title is test full day. Um, the description doesn't have anything starting it and ending it and is full day. So all these properties are available through the item. So with that context, the first thing I want to do is we are going to, well, we're just going to use the item.id first. So and I'm going to open up the, I'm actually going to copy this entire line of code right here and do that on a new line. And so I'm going to open up the same form that I've been opening up, but now what I'm going to do is simply just pass the appointment ID to the form, and the form is going to take care of the rest for me because we already have it configured to do so. So I'm just going to pass it. The item.id, I got rid of I didn't mean to go over my true there, but I'll just do that, comma true. So I still want it to refresh. And I'm going to pass it the ID of the item that I want to edit. So make sure I closed everything up here correctly. Opening, yes, okay, good. So let's save that like that. And go back to calendar view, do a refresh here. So now when I click on an item, it's opening up the form into edit mode, and I can correct that there where I miscapitalized something earlier, and add
So
a little bit
the
of description.
pre-built component, the form that we provided, had logic in it to do editing. And
Right.
you've just activated that by passing in the appointment ID.
Yep. Yep, but all that was already in place, and notice that I'm not getting. This is all the data is being pulled from the actual item, so it's just like I. So yeah, let me go ahead and click on the update here, and if I go back to the listing, and here's the one that I just corrected. If I just edit that, then I'm getting the exact same thing. So it's using the exact same functionality that was already there. Exactly. So that is handy, but perhaps this is more meant for a public view, and you want to actually show people just a nicer detail view than we get with that default detail view that we saw earlier. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new form to the page. So I'm going to put this in edit mode here and click on add module and just put a blank form on the page. And we'll just drag that down here anywhere. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to click the manage form and choose a blank form. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change the name of this right away. Save it like that. And the first thing I want to do is on the events, I'm going to add a action, a standard action that we have in place from the entity we just created, and that's going to be read appointment. And in the read appointment, I'm going to be passing it an appointment ID. So I'm going to give this here. This is just a default in case it does, in case this form initializes without an ID for some reason. And then I'm going to do the output token as appointment detail, and this will allow me to get access to all the values from the appointment ID. And I'm going to give it a pop-up title. So I need to add a context. Actually, I want token. Create update tokens, add, call this pop-up title. And I'm going to use appointment detail, that output token, colon title. That's the property that I want. Take that pop-up title over to the settings tab. And we're going to make this open in a pop-up. We'll keep the defaults here, and I'll use that pop-up title here so that we get the title into the pop-up when we call it. Let me make sure I don't have anything else here I want, so I'm going to just save it like that. And this is 432. So click save. Now going back to the appointments listing, I'm going to change this to 432. And I set the same parameter that we did for the one I just had. So I don't need to change anything else. Everything else is just the way I want it. Click save here, then go back to the, let's see. Oh, that's right. I navigated away so I need to click back here, and we can close this now. So now if I click one of these, yes, well, I did miss an important step here. So let me go back over to here. I need to go.
Proof it's working. When you click an item, it loads your custom form.
Exactly. Yep. So here I need to add I'm going to add a static text field. And it doesn't really matter what I call this, but I'm going to call it detail. And then I'm going to just paste in the content that I want. But it's pretty basic. I'm just putting in some HTML here that's getting the details from that read action that I did in the initialization of the form. So let's save that and then go back to the main view here, reload it. And I'll click that same one I clicked before. And now I'm getting a pop-up that has some details in it. And so this is a really basic way for you to utilize that. We are running low on time, but I think I have time to get to a little bit of the more advanced stuff here. So yeah, go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I was just going to point out, kind of closing the low code loop. What we've done is we've brought you to a custom form and displayed information. But if you wanted to add buttons, for example, to this to give people an option to cancel this appointment or to send a reminder
Yes.
email or any other low code kind of functionality, you have within that form the access to all of the appointment detail information.
Yep.
And so you could make from this point, you've got the item open, you could roll your own.
Yep. I could easily add a button here. In fact, I'll just go ahead and just add a button so we see it. But yeah, add a button here, and then whatever actions I need to run, I can run them here, and then I have that available now. So if I go back over here and refresh this, now I have a button. It doesn't do anything because I didn't assign any actions to it, but I have that ability to do that precisely.
So this would be a great time to encourage any questions if you have any, and I'll let Patrick, you can kind of go on and explain next.
Cool. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add another blank form because I don't want to, I'm going to keep that one the way it is in case, if this was an actual implementation, maybe I'd want to try a couple different things. So I'm just going to add another blank form to the page. And this one is what the form is doing is actually going to be just housing some stuff. The functionality is really going to be all JavaScript. So I'm going to just place that here again. And I'll go ahead and manage the form. And once again, it's going to be a blank form. Go ahead and click start there. And so with this one, the first thing I'm going to do is I just got to find the right inspiration mode here. Okay. I think our prep site went to sleep.
Mm.
um,
Something I think everyone on this call has experienced. For that to spin up again.
yeah. Okay, so I have what I want now. Go back over here, and I'm going to add a static text field again. And this is going to be the detail modal. Make sure I got, yep, okay. So what I'm doing here is just creating a basic Bootstrap 5 modal that I'm going to utilize call by JavaScript. So notice that here it has the ARIA hidden property true, so it's hidden initially and gets called by JavaScript. So I don't have to do anything as far as the display of this form. It can just be on the page because it's not going to show anything. And I'm going to pull in the same properties that we were looking at before, the title, description, start date, and end date. And I'm going to switch to the settings, and here I'm going to use I'm going to put in the function that I'm going to use to call the modal. So I'm going to do that in the initialization scripts. And so here's the function. I won't go through every detail of this, but basically we're going to get the modal. We're going to pass in the values to the first we're passing in the values to the divs that I have there for the different items. So this is going to be the title div, and I'm passing in. I'm going to update it with the title of the event, the description div, and I'm only going to do the description if there's actually a value. So I'm not going to. So it gives a little bit of flexibility there. I'm not going to show the description if I don't actually have a value in the description. So that's if there isn't anything, then it'll be none. And then I'm going to pass in the start date and end date. And then I will show the modal by, so first this is going to update the modal, and then I'll call it to actually display the modal with using modal.show. So that is the function that we're going to use. I'm going to save this form just like this. And we'll go back over to, actually I gotta click back here and go to the appointments listing. Notice that down here, even though I didn't, and this is easily changed. This is the first form that I did. But this is the form that I'm using right now, and I didn't tell it. It's still initially visible, but I'm not seeing anything because I'm only using, the only thing that's displaying is that Bootstrap modal that's hidden initially. So going back to the appointments listing, into the on item click, I'm going to paste in some new JavaScript here. And so here, I'm establishing a constant, a JavaScript constant called event data, and then I'm pulling in the values. Now let me explain why I'm using indexes. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but I just want to go back and take a quick review of that. I do need to go back over here and just click one of these. Now switch back, and now I have because I still have my console.log in there. So if I go, so this is the item object, and here I have an array of fields, and the array is indexed. So I'm passing in the index values 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the items that I'm going to pass to the JavaScript object. So if I go back to my appointments listing here, so item.fields1 for the title, item.fields2 for the description. So that's how I'm getting the values. And then we'll call the open event modal function and pass that all this data into the function. So I'll go ahead and click save. Actually, first I want to make sure I comment this out. We're not going to call the action form anymore. We're going to call the JavaScript. Click save there. Go back over here and do a refresh and click this item. And so now I'm getting a bootstrap modal. And this is it provides more flexibility. It may not be exactly what you want to do, because on the other hand, it would be more difficult to do a button with an action stack on it. That would be a different challenge. You could call a button with JavaScript, but it just is a little bit more difficult to do. But it provides you more flexibility with how you handle the data that's being called in, and more formatting possibilities. So I'm going to go ahead and close that and see if I can get something without a description. So notice that this event doesn't have a description, and my logic for hiding the description worked nicely. So I'll close that. So we're at the hour. So I had a little bit more to talk about how, just real quick, I want to just mention the possibility that with this here, using these indexes, the next thing I was going to present is how you can avoid using the index values and call the fields by their name value. And that's basically using a JavaScript map. So you can map the field values. So just wanted to mention that's a possibility, which would make it better if you change the order of your fields. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it messing up the JavaScript.
If it's okay with you, I'll take the share and just kind of summarize what
Absolutely.
we did.
Yep.
All right. So just kind of summarizing what we did. We talked about having we built an underlying data entity. We have these core features that are built into Calendar and that are here. For example, the special fields, and showed how to fill them in. These Patrick went on to talk about the on selection. When you click an empty area of the calendar and you want to be able to do something, you use a little bit of JavaScript to either invoke a low-code form that does the work for you, or you could invoke anything else that you want to do with JavaScript. This is very much, I mean, because it's JavaScript, it's you're in charge of figuring out what you want to do, but we're providing this event on selection of an empty area of the listing. And then on item click, very similar. When you click an item, we're providing an event that you can link to. And we talked a little bit about what things are present. So on selection, it's telling you you've got some date objects and is full day, so that you can know where to start. On item click, you get the item so you can know what to do with it. And so this kind of gives you the framework from which you can work. You've got a calendar. You can either interact with it in low code through by getting a form going or a listing going, or you can do anything, any advanced thing, as Patrick was starting to show. Whatever your JavaScript imagination can take you, you can go there. And then and so that was kind of the advanced topic of the advanced JavaScript. You can go where you want to go, and we got lucky, and I didn't have to talk about advanced time zone topics. I'll just point out that anytime you're trying to design an application, it's going to be viewed from multiple locations. That you're going to encounter challenges as you try to reconcile. Well, I'm looking at it and it's showing one time. You're looking at it and it's showing another time. That's a feature, but you're going to encounter some oddities, and just raising that as a possible topic for the future. We are glad that you hung with us for this hour, and again, it's our last one for Low Code Cafe, but in 2 days we're doing Low Code Campfire. We'll sit and have a conversation about this and our plans for the next year, and as I point out, just to be able to enjoy ourselves a little bit. It's a great community, and I hope that you'll join us. Thanks for spending this hour with us, and we will see you next year.